Hi, Fort Collins friends. It's Krista and Anthony here from Land Title, and we are doing some market stats for Fort Collins.
All right, so let's dive right into June data. Here it is, after July 4th, kind of looking back on what happened so far for the first half of the year. And, average sales price is very consistent with where we've been. I think that's a great sign for some stability in Fort Collins. The median is up almost 6%, which is super good, right? I mean, basically up and down the front range, Fort Collins seems to be favoring better than everybody else over the last couple of struggling years. If you look at the condo townhouse market, even though these numbers are pretty negative right now, we're seeing some slippage in price. We're down 4% on the median, almost 7.5% on the average. Those are tough numbers to swallow, but it could be a lot worse, right? And I think the message that you guys should understand is this is a tough market. Condo townhouses are struggling across everywhere up and down the front range. This is not a Fort Collins specific problem. You can see on the price per square foot, we're down about 5.5% for that condo market, but it hasn't been year over year over year over year. And across like Denver Metro, for instance, it's ugly, right? And it's been happening for 3 straight years. So it's understandable that this is happening in that part of the market, but the detached single family home market still continues to appreciate. And by seeing that, it just tells you just how stable and how desirable Fort Collins really is. Krista, what's happening with the supply of inventory?
We've got supply here, and we still are seeing houses just flying on the market as we dive deep into the summer here. We're over 20% over last year for active listings, and really just supply continues to build. Buyers have more options and can take their time a little bit and be a little more picky in this market.
Absolutely. That 370 number is one to hang on to, because we get to the demand slide and you see we only put 240 under contract, and it really is a little better than last year. We're starting to see buyers come off the sidelines a little bit, but it's only up by about 9%. And because of that, supply continues to rise. And that month supply of inventory at 3 months is where I would probably consider about a balanced market for the front range. Buyer and seller are around even footing, maybe even seller favored in a little bit of situations, not all obviously, but some. So it's a great time to be a buyer. It's a really stable market to buy into. It's all good news, I think. The last thing that we wanted to talk about was just, what does it feel like to be a buyer and seller? If you're talking about what does it feel like to be a buyer, it takes, or a seller, it takes 27 days to get your house under contract. It's faster than it was last year, which you're the only market up and down the entire front range like this. But it is interesting to see. It's very similar to where it was a month ago. That listed sale price at 99.5%, it doesn't include concessions and it doesn't include price drops, but it's still very, very healthy. So that's a great number to see. I think that's one's absolutely worth sharing. But it does mean if you're a buyer in the marketplace, even if you hear other stories across, the news or whatever, Fort Collins, you're going to still have to come in fairly aggressively to get stuff under contract. You may have more to choose from. You probably have better product to go out and look at, which is great news. But it's still a tough market out there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anthony, and we'll see you again next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.